Hello Mayans, Happy New Year and welcome back to my channel. If you're part of that 80% who are watching this and have not subscribed to my channel yet, please consider subscribing. Just go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below as well as the little notification bell, because then you'll be notified when I upload new content, as well as polls and questions to my community tab, and as soon as they activate it for me, YouTube stories. I hope all of you escaped the holidays unscathed, because I sure didn't. I went back to my hometown on Long Island, New York, and thus began a parade of all kinds of little slights directed towards transgender people. You know, the little ones we all get, like being misgendered by family, as well as a couple, I would say, bigger ones, like my mom actually said that people born under my sign are cold and selfish. I think she really was talking about her current boyfriend, but yeah, the implication was that I was covered under that as well. She can be a very hard-edged Colombian woman sometimes. And then at a New Year's Eve party, I met a woman who, for various reasons, found out I was transgender, and then took it upon herself to just feel up my boob because she was curious. That was the only justification she gave, and she didn't ask me if she could do it beforehand, so not the best experience. And I know that many of you, as members of the LGBTQ family, probably experience similar things when going home for the holidays. And I'd like to hear about them, and so would a lot of other Mayans out there, I'm sure. So put them in the comments below in a great big group share of misery. Now, as bad as all those things were that I described, there was really one that took the cake. And that is that somebody very close to me accused me of marrying a straight cisgender woman so that I could have a kid and a lifestyle that I couldn't achieve on my own as a lesbian transgender woman. And they came to these assumptions from watching my previous videos. Videos that they clearly watched without understanding what I was actually trying to say, or maybe they just didn't want to understand because they were watching the videos to confirm their own biases. It becomes more like a story in a Lifetime movie of a straight cisgender woman who marries a transgender person and then is victimized. But of course, the truth is much more complicated because, well, life is much more complicated than that. Even worse, that narrative is very heteronormative because it presupposes that I couldn't have had any of those things as a transgender woman, which obviously I could have. There are plenty of transgender women out there married to cisgender women who have kids that are biologically both of theirs. And with the right amount of planning, that is something I could even have accomplished after transition, so I'm not exactly sure where this idea comes from. Except that the result is that it places all the blame on my shoulders. It turns me into that Lifetime movie cartoon villain, and it absolves all guilt for things like the divorce we eventually had. That wasn't my idea, and that divorce had as profound an impact on our family as my coming out and my eventual transition. But we all like to keep a worldview of ourselves as good people, as not causing hurt to other people. And the only way that can happen in this case is if I become the villain. Even if in order to do that we have to look back with all the knowledge of hindsight and rewrite history. It judges the past based on knowledge of the present that just wasn't possible back then. But the really sad thing is that when it concerns transgender people in our families, people buy it. The popular media messages out there makes it very easy for them to do that. Not to mention that cisgender people want to side with what they understand, and what they understand is other cisgender people. And what they don't understand, even a little bit, is what it is like to be trans and be in that situation. Sure, they try to explain it to themselves in terms that they think makes it more understandable, like when they were young they wanted to be a tomboy, or maybe they even wanted to be a boy. I've heard that so many times from cisgender women, but of course it is nowhere close to being like that. And yes, I understand it comes from a human need to find reason and commonality for things, but it also propagates misconceptions and feeds into the fear of transgender people as somehow being deceivers. And fear of transgender people is transphobia. And I personally try to beat back those misconceptions by making my videos. When I make these videos, I look back in time to some feelings and emotions I had that I now recognize as being the first sparks of my understanding that I was transgender. But as they say, hindsight is 20/20. I can do that because now I understand that I am transgender. Back then, I didn't. I just knew that I had thoughts and feelings that made me different than all the other boys that I knew in my life. And that if I tried to voice those things, I'd be opening myself up to ridicule and laughter, and probably some violent encounters. And how do I know that? Because that's what happens to trans kids today. And back then, there were none of the resources that we have available today for me to discover what those thoughts and feelings meant. It's like having these symptoms you've known about your entire life, and you're too scared to go to the doctor, so you say to yourself, oh, this pain in my side, that is because of something I ate last night. Problem is that pain in that side doesn't go away, and it keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger until you realize that actually is something much more serious. So you do a little more research into it, and you realize your appendix is about to burst. It wasn't that pizza with extra cheese and pepperoni. The way I found out that I was transgender was by reading other people's stories on the internet. I read their little bios where they told about the things that happened to them when they were young and growing up. And it was in that moment that I realized that those stories perfectly aligned with mine. This is the last time I want to talk about this. Right up until the time I actually came out, I did not know I was transgender. I've said that definitively over and over and over again, and frankly, I am really tired of explaining myself. I'm even more tired of justifying and validating my own existence. People People need to get over their own feelings and just move on, because I know I'm going to. Sometimes in life shit happens that we can't control and that we didn't ask for. I was born with a medical condition with some horrible side effects. It put me under a tremendous amount of mental stress, and yes, unfortunately that affected the people around me as well. But we do the best we can, and we make mistakes, because that's part of being human. And we apologize and we try to do better, and I've certainly done that too. But I am not going to take the blame for being a liar in some way, because in the end, the real lie in my life about being transgender was the one I was forced to believe in order to survive. We are insulted, maligned, and mentally traumatized until we accept it as our truth, even when it isn't. And I want to save other people the pain that comes with denying our true nature. I want to give people the strength to say no to the lies that are foisted upon us. And these lies aren't even necessarily specific to the trans community. Those of us in the LGBTQ community know what it's like to have straight people tell us that our love is a lie, because they can't personally conceive of what it would be like to love somebody of the same sex or gender. And of course, the cisgender community does the same thing to transgender people when they try to parse and open up our identities for debate, as if our existence is in any way a question that could be answered with a no. Our love and our identity isn't a matter of opinion, and I will no longer accept that it even might be. I will no longer accept the lies that people tell about me and people like me in order to make themselves more comfortable. So I will never stop making these videos, and I will never stop talking about my past in the way that I have. They are meant for those of you who are questioning exactly what is your authentic selves, and for those of you who are still suffering in a world that doesn't accept that we are valid. And I hope watching my videos can help answer some of those questions for you, so that you can see that we deserve respect and we deserve love. So I hope that you all have a happy new year and that you accomplish all your resolutions. Check out the links to all my social media down below, including my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Facebook. I promise I put some really funny and amusing things in there between videos. And if you have a dime to spare after the holidays, please consider giving to my Patreon. I so appreciate all of you that have given and make it possible for me to make these videos. And on that note, like, share, and subscribe, and see you around the interwebs.